Welcome to the Dissent Agenda. I'm Melissa.
And I'm Cody. We're just two loudmouths with Wi-Fi, a mic, and zero tolerance for bad politics.
Every week, we dig through the dumpster fire that is national politics, so you don't have to. From clown car congressional hearings to billionaires cosplaying as patriots, we call it out and call it what it is.
Then we bring it home, literally. Stick around for our Locals Only segment where we spill the tea about what's going on right here in Virginia Beach.
Because what happens in Washington doesn't stay in Washington. It shows up at our school board, our city council, and on our grocery bill. This is the Dissent Agenda. Let's get into it.
First episode of the Dissent Agenda.
Yeah. So we wanted to do this because I think you and I both, we express ourselves a lot at city council, social media, school board. But I think we both need an outlet for where we can put some of our frustration with politics. And so here we are. And I guess I'll kind of start with, we met through school board meetings.
Yep. School board meetings and social media. And so we've built a friendship over this time. We started another podcast, a different podcast called Talking Transparency, with a focus on trans rights and the trans community, because we both have children that are part of that community. And now we want to talk about politics, and we want to keep the public informed. Yeah, and that's a key part too, is keeping the public informed, because there's also so many, things going on nationally and locally, that unless you're in the circles, if you will,
you don't know about it.
You don't know about it.
Right. And you can't really rely on a social media post, because that audience, algorithms and audience, people have to seek out the information.
And can you rely on the news anymore either? That's basically become entertainment television, all about ratings, and we're watching them, systematically kowtow to this new fascist administration.
Correct. And that trickles all the way down to local media as well. When it comes to politics, so there's a court case going on that's been all over the media in Virginia Beach, which is about the Kellam High School students. There are 6 white students and 1 black student, and those 6 white students gave their quote friend a birthday gift, and it was essentially racist stereotypes. And ambulance chaser attorney Tim Anderson, who is also running for the House of Delegates in House District 97, which is the central part of the city of Virginia Beach. He decided to represent the families of the offenders because they were suspended from school. And he's basically trying to say it's a defamation case, trying to say that these kids' lives and reputations were ruined because the school jumped to a conclusion, which is not true. They did a proper investigation, and they called it racial harassment or racial bullying. And these kids were punished, and they, instead of taking accountability, they decided that they would like to go to litigation. But I was speaking to a reporter yesterday with one of the news stations, because he was supposed to call me for an interview, because I provided the court documents to the journalist at all the major news outlets, which, just by the way, for the public, you're free to go down the courthouse and get case information. And in the past, that's what journalists do. That's what they would do. But nobody did that. And they've allowed over the last 3 months for this attorney who is also running for political office, to essentially push the narrative and try this case in the media. So I shared the facts that I found, and it's kind of turned into a thing. And when I asked why this reporter did not call me to do an interview with me, he basically said that management wants to wait until this hearing that's coming out on the 22nd of August to see if the case gets dismissed before they pursue anything. And one thing I noticed, he said, they said because it's election season. So they're fine giving this candidate, who is the attorney, they're fine giving him air coverage, airtime to share his and only his side of this and didn't take the time to get the facts. So it's like you can't even trust our own local news media to seek out facts that present for both sides. If I hate that whole both sides thing, but I mean, truly, to seek out the information from both sides.
Yeah, I mean, and it's reading the news, it looks like it's only getting more and more prolific with the misinformation. It's looking like we soon won't be able to trust things that are presented to us as facts and statistics from our own government.
That is correct, because if you aren't aware, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is a government agency that reports, and I should make mention that there are and have always been corrections to reports.
Basically, every single month there's corrections to the reports.
Right. And so because as more information comes in, they make the corrections. And so when Trump didn't like the jobs report, which for as many federal workers who have been fired, laid off, early retirement, it's very obvious that we are not doing much in creating jobs, but we are eliminating jobs. And there's been so much turmoil with the tariffs since he's come into office in January.
And intentional just elimination of jobs.
And that shouldn't be surprising to anybody that the jobs report was low, yeah. Right? But he didn't like those numbers, so he fired the person that does the numbers.
Well, that's just it. Not even the person that does the numbers, because the numbers are done by bunches of people.
True.
These numbers come from all sorts of places. And it's really, it doesn't make any sense to even try and fudge the numbers, because this isn't, the numbers in the government report aren't the only place these numbers exist.
Correct.
If they were to just release completely inaccurate information, it would immediately be countered by all of the other places that track this information.
Right.
Corporations,
like ADP, for example, like basically going forward, like we can only really trust like ADP, for example, right? And what people don't realize is, and I know this because I am an employer. I have employees that have W-2s and 1099s. And so, but let's just talk about my W-2 employees. I pay the government payroll taxes weekly. The government knows exactly how many employees my corporation has because I report it weekly with my taxes. I also report that to my state unemployment commission. And so you can't hide, private sector jobs really, or even the public sector jobs, because that data is available.
Yeah, man, it's wild that you can just say that it's rigged.
Right.
No evidence. You can completely take that. I mean,
it's actually more wild that people will just take his word for it.
You take his word over the words of many, many people that had to work through a system and a math equation. I mean, and I get it. There's takes that the system is old and the system is antiquated, etc. Sure, the system may need to be updated. Does that mean that these job numbers were rigged against Trump? No, absolutely not. That's a ridiculous claim.
Right.
And so, but now we clearly have a president that fire people for telling them the truth.
That's correct. And that's it's honestly very scary to me. I hope it's scary to a lot of people, regardless of I don't think this has anything to do with partisanship, and it certainly shouldn't have anything to do with your political party when we're talking about like in what other world, what other universe, right? Do we just take the word of one person, like you don't do that with your job.
No. And how can you trust somebody to make decisions that impact you, knowing that this person will not accept truths that they don't like?
Right. Because how are you supposed to improve something that's going bad?
You can't improve things. You can't make good comprehensive decisions
Mhm.
if you absolutely refuse to accept, analyze, and respond to truths that you don't like. That's true in every area of life, but especially in leadership.
Right.
Especially in leadership, you need to be able to see and accept truths you don't like. And then the key to being a good leader is then doing something
Mm-hmm.
about the things, the truths that you don't like.
That's right.
That's it in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so it's startling to me that there are so many people that whatever he says is the truth. He never tells a lie. He's never wrong. Like, I don't know anyone. I mean, think of someone in your life that you believe has never, ever, ever, ever lied to you. I mean, I can't even say that about my parents, right?
I mean, everybody lies or withholds the truth, if for
withholds the truth.
nothing else, for their own privacy.
Right. Correct. And so it's just really mind boggling to me. So, when we get into talking, one of the things we want to do with this podcast is we want to touch on, want to talk about national politics, but and just kind of give information as it is available as we see it. I know I use Ground News app so that I can make sure that I'm looking not just at specific media sources. Like I look at right-wing media sources and I see how they're framing it. And I look at left-wing media sources and I see how they're framing a situation. And then I deduce or I make a judgment based on that information that's given to me. And I think everybody should do that. It just shocks me when it's like the president has been made to be this like godlike level. When really
In some places, literally.
yeah, for sure. And then like his administration is just like a clown car. It's like a clown car of villains.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it was there's an advisor or member of the administration that was actually at January 6th. They got a video of him shouting, "Kill him, kill him, kill him."
Yep. Oh, he's I believe I can't remember what is he an attorney? No, there's a 30-year-old attorney that's in charge. I mean, the DOJ, for example, has lost 2/3 of their attorneys. 2/3, y'all. That's a lot of attorneys.
And it's great because we're going to see this comment, because I always see this comment. Well, that's just wasteful spending. Those are people they didn't need.
No, these are people that quit. I mean, there were people that were let go, but like they have been resigning en masse because they refuse as attorneys to put their name on something that they're being asked to put their name on because they don't want to lose their bar license. I mean, that's just the truth. They're unwilling.
The administration's probably just sitting there thinking that frees up more money for another golf trip.
Right. Or voting.
Or voting.
Because Vice President Vance, that little fucker, he wanted to go kayaking.
Because his 41st birthday, birthday, you got to do it big on your birthday. And
he wanted to do, it was a river in Ohio.
Family river kayaking trip in Ohio. But the river wasn't high enough, I guess, to accommodate all of the other boats that had to be there to protect
the vice president.
President. And so, no big deal. We're not gonna raft, kayak somewhere else. We're just gonna bring the water up.
Right.
We're just gonna raise the water level on that river.
Gonna contact the Army Corps of Engineers and say, hey, listen, we need this photo op for my 41st birthday to make me look like I'm some, athletic or outdoorsy kind of guy. And can you just release the dam, which by the way is that kind of action is only reserved for very special circumstances.
It's very, very special circumstance.
Well, it was JD's birthday.
Happy birthday from the American taxpayers.
Right. And then I can't help but notice how much taxpayer money is being spent for
them to be flying all over the world. Like Christy Nome did this like photo op thing down in like Argentina or some shit, like on riding horses. And it was like a little horse vacation for her. And then you got JD flying not just the country, flying all over the world. You got Trump going to Scotland on taxpayer dime to do an afternoon of golfing at his resort. I mean, it's just a clown show as far as I'm concerned with administration.
And money's not going there. It's going to ICE and concentration camps. And what's it? Is a $50,000 bonus now to sign up for ICE. And they removed the age gap. So like,
oh yeah, so you can be like 18 or something. Oh my God,
no, you can be 60.
Yeah. So, did you see that Dean Cain?
Oh yeah,
that played Superman. Played on the Superman.
He played on Lois and Clark.
Lois and Clark, the show, right? TV show. Well, this is how irrelevant Dean Cain is. I don't even know what the fuck he did.
This random movie called Rollerball.
Oh, okay. Well, anyways, he's really irrelevant unless we're still in 1995. But apparently, they think that like Dean Cain joining ICE Force, it's real term, ICE Force, that's going to help recruit people. Now, don't get it twisted. I did tell my daughter, who's looking for a job, she just graduated college, with forensic science degree. I said, well, because it was a $40,000 bonus. They maybe have made it 50,000 now.
Yeah.
So it's 50,000 now. So $50,000 bonus, 100,000 salary or some ridiculous salary. And which, by the way, the budget for ICE now through the BBB is larger than the Marine Corps budget, and it's actually larger than multiple countries' military budgets. And so, but I told her, I was like, hey, we can change it from the inside if you go work for ICE. She of course was like, absolutely not.
No.
Which I don't blame her. But yeah, so ICE has been recruiting. The South Park episodes are amazing. Christy Nome's face continually melting. And trying to escape from her own face it was brilliant. And everybody needs to make a nut. We're all here trying to just make a nut, aren't we? If you don't get that reference, you need to go watch
watch the show.
Yeah, go watch the South Park episode. So it's really, really good. So that's the kind of stuff that we're going to touch on. One thing locally that we are going to need our listeners in Virginia Beach to really pay attention to, and we are going to be talking a lot about it over the next 3 months before the election, is Virginia Beach is going to have a ballot referendum, and it is on our voting system. For years, just to give a quick recap, the city of Virginia Beach was found in federal court to be violating the Voting Rights Act of 1965 since the inception of the city of Virginia Beach in 1966. So they have blatantly been disenfranchising minority voters or diluting the voting power of the minority voters in the city of Virginia Beach. And they've been doing that since 1966 until 2022, because the federal judge ordered that the city get broken up into 10 single member districts. So before that happened, we had 7 districts in Virginia Beach. And then we had 3 people that ran at large, right? And then we had the mayor. So basically 7 voting districts, and then 4 people were citywide, not representing just a district that they lived in. And the reason why that has been a problem and how they dilute the minority votes is if you live in Virginia Beach, you're very, very well aware, or frankly, any coastal community, that the voting block in a coastal community is going to be much larger on the waterfront. So the east side of the city is a very wealthy district, is a very wealthy area of town, I should say. And the minority population is much less. Like the district that I live in is like 78% white. wealthy-ish, right? I'm not really one of those people. We do okay, but we're definitely not living in, multi-million-dollar homes or anything like that, not on the ocean front or anything. And then you have on the far west side of the city is where the largest block of minority voters are. And then there's a central part of the city. So pretty much your friends at the oceanfront, how it was before the 10-1 is that you could vote. And I always thought this was really weird. Did you move here before the 10-1 or after the 10-1?
I got here right as the 10-1 was setting in.
Okay. So I always thought it was weird that I could vote for every district.
Yeah, that was the thing, is even though they had 7 districts, 3 at large and a mayor, they were really all at large.
They were all at large, yeah, because you could vote. I could vote for the person that was going to represent Centerville, which was I live on the east side of the city, but I could vote for the person that was going to represent the people in the Centerville district on the far west side of the city. And that was silly to me. I was like, why are we doing that?
With an all at large system, you basically eliminate any minority voice.
Correct. Yes.
It gets completely eliminated.
That is correct.
And it's just math.
Well, and it's proven with the data, because up until 2018, so from 1966 or whatever to 2018, we had only elected 5 people of color.
And none of them had been.
And none of them until 2020 had been reelected. Sabrina Wooten did win her reelection. And so that was the first time that happened. And so, I mean, the proof is there, the data was there. And so what has happened is that has the first results, 2022 was the first election that we did. We ran under this 10-1, and half of our districts were up for reelection. And the results of that election were the youngest, most diverse council that the city has ever had. Shocking, right? Because the 10-member districts,
how that works.
I know, right? 10 districts, 3 of them are considered minority opportunity districts. So they are heavier with minority population, which then affords those groups of people to be able to elect somebody to represent them that looks like them. And we had great results with it. Well, conservatives in this city were very upset, as well as their special money interests, like developers, Bruce Thompson, what is that? Taylor Johnston Group.
Yeah, basically all of the developers, all of the real money.
The real money, the people who basically have been pulling the strings and, playing the city council like puppets.
Your big names down at the ocean front, the sensations there.
Yep. So they appealed, the city appealed. It's really long, convoluted thing, and we'll probably do a show that is specifically meant where I can really get into the history of this. But 2024, we also had elections under this 10-1 system, and produced great results under that election. I mean, I wasn't crazy about everybody that got elected, but it works, right? But it works. And so now what's happened is the city, after a long time, of fighting this, using manipulative tactics to try to prevent us from fully incorporating this 10-1 voting system, they have been fighting it through litigation. And what has now finally happened is they finally got a judge, to agree that there needs to be basically a ballot referendum. Okay. And that's what they're trying to do. Now, whether the federal court judge comes in and stops it, that remains to be seen.
Because he was pretty big mad about them trying to skirt around.
Yeah, he was big mad about it by doing a ballot referendum. Yeah. And so the ballot referendum, which,
by the way, that we're just millions and millions of dollars now into them trying to continue an illegal voting system.
That is correct. This, like taxpayer money, millions of taxpayer dollars have been spent fighting this, because they cannot handle losing power and control. Have better policies is what I would like to say. So, and stop making decisions based on your campaign donations, the people that are donating to your campaign. So what has happened is in June, there was a ballot referendum committee that formed from the conservatives here in Virginia Beach and the big money developers. And they put together this ballot referendum committee called Every Vote Counts. And these bitches, they fucking have raised
hundreds of thousands of dollars
in like less than 60 days, y'all. I mean, money talks. When rich people are afraid of losing control, they're just ready to throw money.
I've never seen a more obvious case of trying to buy the vote and control of the government.
And you see it in election. Like you see if you're somebody that follows
you see
you see it with individual campaigns.
$25 million into the presidential campaign.
Correct. And then you'll see it even at a local level. If you actually go and you look on VPAP, which is the Virginia Public Access Project, vpap.org is a great website. You can go look and you can see campaign donations for every person, every candidate running.
And you should. If you want to know about your local candidates, go look at who's giving them money.
That's right. Exactly. And so the people that have put money into this ballot referendum are the same people that have been, pouring money into the campaigns of the politicians that we have, the conservative politicians that have been trying to maintain power and control. So instead of having a more diverse body on council to have robust discussion about the future of our city, they're just essentially trying to buy this, just like they try to buy the seats on city council. I mean, when you look at the money that is spent, when you're talking about like having to raise $1 million to run a mayor's race in this city, it's absolutely ludicrous, right? So they're trying to buy this ballot referendum, and they're, spending that money on TV ads and all that stuff. So it's just really important that the voter understands that you need to vote yes on the 10-1 because single member, equally divided districts give us the best representation for our communities. We do not need 4 mayors. That is what 3 at-large seats give you.
And the more at-large seats you have, the more amplified the majority voices and the more diluted the minority voices. And that's just math. And it doesn't even matter what majority minority you're talking about.
That is correct.
That can be a racial majority and minority. It can just be an ideological majority and minority.
Yep.
And if you add enough at-large seats, you can have 49% of a population without any voice at all.
Right. Well, and I've already said, listen, these conservatives, they better be careful what they wish for. Because if this ballot referendum does, if 10-1 gets overturned by the ballot referendum, and we do have 3 at-large seats plus a mayor, oh, bitch, I'm running for council.
Well, yeah, and it is one of those things where they did manage to, very much by pumping what amounts to millions of dollars into the local election, they did manage to retain, conservative control over city council. But the city still voted Democrat in the presidential election.
Sure did. And I just need to say this, it's really only 1 seat now that they have a majority on, as far as ideological, political perspective.
Well, yeah, it's a thin line. That's why they need this so bad, is because the only way they really keep that majority, especially after what's going on in the average American's life now.
That is correct. Yep.
Is by doing what Texas wants to do and taking control, gerrymander, and rig the system.
Yep. So it's going to be interesting, and we're going to kind of keep everybody, and there's so much more to this 10-1 system. I mean, I made a 7-minute video a few years ago going into the history of our voting system in Virginia Beach because the voters of Virginia Beach tried to get them to change the voting system and go off of an at-large and all at-large system back in the 90s, in 1994. And because that passed, because the voters' voices were heard, we had a legislator at the time who essentially when it made its way up to the General Assembly to be fulfilled, the voters' wishes to be fulfilled and put in print into law, there was a substitute motion presented on the floor by Senator Stawley, who is the retired sheriff here. He was a senator for a period of time, and he decided, him and a couple other folks on council in Virginia Beach behind the scenes in that, smoky room, the backdoor dealings that they do, they decided that the voters didn't know. They didn't know what they meant.
They don't really know.
They don't really know. Like, they were confused by the question. So we need to do another ballot referendum.
They didn't understand that they'd be taking power away from us. They possibly couldn't have.
Because otherwise, like, it wouldn't have passed. If they had known that, they would have let us keep our power. And so what was interesting about that is that in 1994, the reason why that was so successful is because that was a presidential year. It was Bill Clinton. And it was a presidential year. So voter turnout was like robust, really, right? Is high, right? But in 1996, it's midterm. And if you know anything about politics,
drops by like half.
Yep. Turnout drops at least by 30%. So it's like a presidential, you'll get a 70 to 72% voter turnout. And in a midterm, you'll get maybe a 40 to 50% turnout, right? And so they did that on purpose. They're like, oh, well, we need to redo it again. And when I tell y'all in a different episode what the question was, it's like the way they worded the question, it was really laughable. It was kind of like the way I always liken it to is like, if I put $1 on the table and I put 50 cents on the table and I just say, pick one, you're going to pick the $1 every single time. So the way this question was worded was like the $1 and the 50-cent question, right? And of course that passed the way they wanted it to. And so then the voting system literally never changed. It was the biggest like smoke and mirrors, like bait and switch I've ever seen. And so for another 30 years, we stayed on that same at-large system. And I think what's happening now though is that they're realizing people are more awake, right? More they're knowledgeable.
What they're going to make this all about, they're going to make it about two things. There's going to be two things that they make it about. One, they're going to say you're getting more representation by being able to vote on more representatives.
Which is such a lie.
It's such a lie. You're just diluting.
The vote.
You're just over amplifying the majority voice. That's all that's happening. But the other part of it's going to be about money. All of the businesses, especially the big businesses, that whole crew's going to want this badly. And so they're going to push. It's going to be another trickle down economics. Push strategy
for sure. That
the
old
businesses are better. You're better. Yeah. The trickle down.
Yeah.
It looks exactly like that.
Right.
It's a trickle down here.
And they try to say that it's like tribalism too. Like that they'll be too tribal if it's 10 separate districts, that we need a couple representatives that represent the city at large. And really what they're doing is right now, each of those members currently represent 45,000 people. If we go to a 731, now they represent 65,000 people. So we increase how many people that those individual district members represent.
It just makes it more ineffective, and it'll be the same threat.
Yeah.
We're going to cut off the trickle will get cut off. Your lives will get harder. You won't get as much stuff.
Yeah.
It'll be the exact same threat as before, but hopefully now people are more awake. And will be more informed.
Yep. We're going to try. We're going to do our part to try to make sure people are informed.
And they're able to kind of see through that, because it will not make anything better for the individual citizen of Virginia.
No. And we have a few, there's a few Democrats that are like 731 and they've been courted by Bruce Thompson, and they're the older establishment Democrats, and they just believe what they believe. And they're also just coincidentally, they're also white people. Shocking.
Surprise. I mean,
surprise.
We have to be real about, Democrat, Republican, crossover and just, honest about a great many members and representatives and, and government officials from the Democratic Party.
Yep.
I mean,
Call them Republican lights.
Republican lights, Reagan Republicans.
Reagan Republicans.
Or just cowards.
Yeah. A lot of it's just cowards.
Or just cowards, some of the things that we've seen, backing down on supporting different communities, just not being able to give straight answers, just, politician stuff that is just cowardly. I know we were talking, was it Akeem Jeffries the other day?
We were talking about Cory Booker.
Cory Booker, that's right.
Akeem Jeffries and Cory Booker,
Yeah, Cory Booker and
what he said and what he won, when he was asked about supporting, if he was going to support Mamdani, and he was like, well, New Jersey just has a lot of problems right now, so I'm just going to focus
I'll let New Jersey do their thing. And that's what he said. What he meant was, I don't want to piss off my corporate sponsors.
Like APAC.
APAC. And I think they should have to wear them like patches on their
same. So we know who's paying them.
Their little government suit uniform.
They should have to wear pins for, or
like a NASCAR racer. They should just have a jumpsuit with all the patches of all the different corporate sponsors. The people who are buying
their opinions, because that's really what they are. They're being bought. And that's why, like, it's really important to really look at your candidates that are not taking big money, that they're taking small. I mean, those candidates have to work 5,000 times harder than the candidates who are just, hand over fist getting 5, 10, 20, 50,000. Listen, in campaign finance, we need campaign finance reform desperately in Virginia. It is the wild, wild west in Virginia. On a federal level, it's not. There are restrictions, but state and local, I mean, it's literally the wild, wild west. Virginia has some of the worst campaign finance laws it's worse for the people, but a lot of the politicians really like it, right? Because you don't have limits on, how much you can donate to candidates and things like that. So
and you can spend money on all sorts of wild stuff.
All sorts of wild stuff. So including, you can take yourself to, Busch Gardens and stuff.
I mean, and people need to start holding their representatives accountable. And it's fine to like, hey, I've liked things that Cory Booker's done.
Same. Yeah, sure.
But it does erode my trust and my confidence when somebody can't give a straight answer to a question.
That is correct.
Whatever that question is.
Just give a straight answer.
That's what we should be asking of our politicians, is honesty, even if it's hard truths.
That's right.
Who are you?
Right.
And what do you actually believe in or think about these different issues, and just being able to say it.
Yeah.
I say things people don't like.
I say things people don't like all the time. So that's what our goal is with this podcast. I hope that we will be able to give a lot of good information. Anything that we talk about will be able to be sourced and shared, and hopefully,
also talk about things that have happened in our life and how we ended up getting here. In our lovely podcast studio.
Yes, it's been wonderful. So, all right, well, that is going to be, I think we'll wrap it up here, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for joining us.
If you learned something, got pissed off, or just laughed through the rage, do us a favor. Share this episode with someone who still believes that it can't happen here.
Follow us, subscribe, and hit us up on socials, because if you aren't at the table, you are on the menu.
This is the Dissent Agenda. Stay informed, stay loud, and stay in the fight.